Ansible tips and tricks part 4. Today we're going to deploy a Docker application using wait4 module. Alright, so here's how our part 4 directory looks like. As you can see, there is a role for Dockerize and pure Python deployment of CXP. And what is CXP or Container Exporter? I'd love to take a few seconds to describe or even explain it to you. All right, so CXP or Container Exporter is an open source project that in a resource friendly manner collects Prometheus metrics for your Docker containers. We had previous kind of solutions like CAdvisor, which was open source as well, or Datadog for like a large scale. With CXP and Container Exporter, you can gather those metrics without worrying about having a monitoring on CAdvisor itself, because it sometimes get tricky with RAM and CPU consumption. But I actually made an open source solution for that to do it with less amount of resource. Let's get right back to the playbooks. Okay, so here using the Git module, we check out the repository, and after that, here's a diamond. We wait 3 seconds for a certain file to be present. And how do we do that? Well, we have a module called wait4, and just because it's an Ansible built-in module, we prefix it with ansible.builtin. But don't worry about that. You give it a path, like any path to a file. Right here, we have path to a file that doesn't exist, meaning that we want it to fail. And you have a state. What do you want to happen with that file? You can either set it to present or absent. You have other options if you look at the documentation, but these are the most important. There are times that you remove a file, but you're not pretty sure whether it's removed or not. So you use wait4 in this manner to check whether it's absent. But we check that to the repository, so we want to see whether it's present. And if it's not present within 3 seconds, well, we're not going to be happy and it fails. After that, it builds a project and fails if it failed. And here is the next one. It just times out for 3 seconds. Okay, no files, nothing. It just times out. Okay, it's like sleep command for bash scripts. And if I run this playbook, you'll see for yourself what happens right here, right now. After trying to check it out, it's fine. But when it waits for the Docker Compose file, it said it's timeout for the actual file. So it couldn't find it and it failed the fantastic playbook. Now, if we replace it with the actual YAML file and Docker Compose file that we're going to deploy later on, see what happens. All right, it is okay. The build is changed. It didn't fail. And it just waits without doing anything for the containers to get built. That's something you can do. Okay. Now, to the second part of our playbook, we got another type of wait4. So far, we discovered 2 types. It was bare delay, like a slip, and files. Here on the deploy stage and phase, we got checking for ports, which is a very important thing. We actually run Container Exporter on port 8000. Okay, so we want to see whether after we deploy it, port 8000 is started or not within 10 seconds of checking. All right, so if I run this right now, run the playbook again, we shall see what happens with the deployment and whether any port that we actually mention here in the port parameter and directive is not ready and started, it'll fail. But right now, the deploy was clean, so it just, it was okay. The state was okay here. And now it gives us a path to our actual, let's say, CXP. If I go to /metrics, then I might as well have the metrics right here, right now. Simple as that. You saw we just deployed a Docker container and Docker project using Ansible the best way we could. But that's not just it. Going to the third part, we want to deploy Prometheus as well, right? We can't just have a exporter without Prometheus. So at the third part, we got something fabulous here. We got search regex with wait for it. Okay, so what search regex does is that it actually goes look for a file. Right here is Prometheus config file that I'll show you later on. It checks whether it's present, and what is present in there, a regex called container exporter. Because usually when you configure metric collectors or exporters for Prometheus, you should add the configuration in script config that I'll show you right now. So with search regex in a file, you can search for a string, which now we are checking for container exporter. If I look in Prometheus config, Prometheus.yml, we got such a string here at job name in script configs, pointing to where CXP is deployed and the port and the address. Okay, so it's okay, but for the sake of our tutorial to see what happens here, I remove it, and what happens? Sorry, let me see what was the error. All right, okay, we accidentally did something horrible. Okay, we run it again. And it is going to be fabulous, hopefully. Okay, we know that it is deployed here. And after that, it is configured. It says that it is timeout for finding the string here in container exporter. But if we get it back to what it was before, it should run smoothly. Play it again. Here we got it. Waiting for it. And as you can see, the insurance for Prometheus is absolutely fine. And we don't want to really wait for Prometheus deployment. You can just do that. All of these source code are available in GitHub repository Ansible tips, and I'll share the link in the comments. You can go check it out, okay? And don't forget to support again. And that was it, guys. That was it for today. We saw 4, if I'm not mistaken, usages of Ansible wait for module. One was the port, the other one was search regex, the other was kind of like timeout and sleep, and the last but not least was the files. So I hope you enjoyed this. Make sure you like, subscribe, and reshare. Take care. I'll catch you on the next episodes.